This one. I don't have mask.
I'm Missy Harris. I'm the director here at the Lincoln County Library System, and I would like to welcome you to Wyoming Wildflowers in Watercolor with Judy Gonnet. Before class begins, I would like to take a moment to thank the Lincoln County Library System and our facilitators and Lifetime Arts for providing the monetary support in making this program possible. Judy Gonnet received her Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in painting and drawing, her Master of Arts in printmaking, lithography, and drawing, and her Master of Fine Arts in printmaking and painting from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. She has taught at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, as well as classes and workshops through the Rock Springs Fine Arts Center, Jackson Art Association, Western Wyoming Community College, and in her Bedford studio. After 10 years sailing in the Caribbean, she moved to Star Valley, where she began to sell her paintings in Jackson, Green River, and locally. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoy Wyoming Wildflowers in Watercolor with Judy Gonnet.
Welcome back, everybody. So last week, for those of you who weren't here, we did bachelor buttons with a forest background like this. And okay. Uh-oh. We're having a little echo issue. I always want to yodel eat food. It's just a thing. Okay, so what we've been doing so far, we've been working with what's called a portrait format so far. I think I explained this, that usually landscapes are done like this on a landscape format. And I always like, especially living in Wyoming, I like to do my landscapes vertically because I think the sky is so much a part of the landscape here. So I like to have room for both of them. But today we're going to turn to a landscape format. And the reason that we're going to do this today is because we've been going across the page this way, right? And now we have further distance to go across. So we have more work that we have to do, and we have to do all the things we've done before, but we're working horizontally. So we're going to be doing this garden up here, this wildflower garden up here. And what I want everybody to do is to take out your mask, okay? And looking at how the paper is divided, which I divided it pretty much in half. Yes, that's your mask. So pretty much divided in half. So what I want you to do is put about 12 dots of your mask on the bottom third of the paper. And that will be masking where you're going to put your brightest flowers, okay? Did she get some? She can share tomorrow's. If you don't have any masks, just share it with your neighbor. Okay, so also before we start, I want to say one more thing before you go off of me and onto my hands. I haven't seen anybody's work out there in Cokeville, LaBarge, Kemmer, Alpine, and Afton. And while we're waiting for our masks to dry today, I'd like to do some spotlighting to see, because I really want to see what people are doing and if you're getting it. I know that the people in front of me are getting it because I'm here brutalizing them, making sure that they get it. But I don't know if the other libraries are doing all right, or if they have any questions. So if the facilitators for the other libraries could, to find out from anybody if they have any questions that they want to ask me. And then while we're waiting for our mask to dry, I'm going to ask to see some of the work that people have done, if that's all right. And then after we have dried our mask, or our mask has dried, we're going to be putting in our sky, and then we're going to be putting in our fence, okay? Which is real simple to do, all right? So starting with the mask, we once again, bottom third of the paper, if you want to switch to, thank you. could I just once start this class without sticking my finger in wet paint? Just once, okay? Just, I guess not. Diana, was that you that just said nope? Oh, it was, we've got more than one rebel here. All right, so here's my piece of paper. And again, on my bottom third, now looking at the way the fence is here, and I have lots of fences, so I've been practicing. What you want to do is, you can see how the fence is going to be spaced. So make sure that your dots are going up into your fence area. They don't necessarily have to go up into the sky area because that's going to be light enough that you can see how the yellow flower showed up. On this one, I did a pretty big white area for a bunch of white flowers. So all I'm going to do here is take my mask, dip my, I have my number 4 brush, but you're probably better off using your number 10 because then your dots will be bigger. And I'm just going to do a variety of, I'm moving to number 10 because that one just wasn't big enough. You're just going to put a dot down like we've done before, right? And just put about maybe about 12 dots out there, 12 circles out there, 12. And if you wanted to do a little petal shaped flower, you could do that to block that out. If you wanted to do something other than a dot, like that, okay? Again, it's just masking where we want our brightest colors to be. So I have 6 there so far. Vary the size of your dot, of your circles. It's pretty easy to do. I've got to go give this back to the student out there who's sitting here without it. The student.
Okay, so Labarge says they are not ready. Not everyone is there. And they
What was the first part of that message?
don't have everyone there yet.
Okay. I had to look to make sure I wasn't. Do they have anybody there? Okay, that looks like a starfish. It's a starfish, Wyoming wildflower. Ellen, have you ever used mask before?
Yes.
Okay, so you had used it.
Yeah. I have done my nails the other day. Years.
Oh.
The top layer was kind of hard.
Yeah,
I couldn't get it out, so it just went in. It worked.
yeah. There's some Winsor Newton ones that are not latex that you can't shake because something happens to it, but the ones that we're using, you can.
I was watching something that used rubber cement. They
Yes.
outlined a picture and then painted inside. Would you show your example again of the fence? Yes. And then what is the type of paper that is organic sizing that you mentioned?
Fabriano. I'm surprised you got all those words out. Fabriano. It's Fabriano. It's a French paper. Here you go. What was the question again?
Oh, they use rubber cement.
Yes, and you can't. It's basically the same thing, but rubber cement's a bit whiffy.
Yeah.
You know, I have all these gum boots, so I decided I was going to put patches on them, and it involves rubber cement. And oh my gosh, it was like I had to open all the windows. It's like, and I bought a huge thing of it too, you know. So yeah, it's a bit whiffy, and it works just fine. It really does. Not on the gum boots though.
Oh,
I mean, I have a lot of patches and a lot of water still gets in. All right, so we're going here. We're waiting for it to dry. How's Labarge doing?
just asking that right now.
Did they answer? Well, we're waiting for Pete for our rubber cement. Look what you did to me. We're waiting for our mask to dry and Labarge to get caught up. Is there anybody out there like in Kemmer or Cokeville that can show me their paintings? You know how to spotlight, right? Okay, okay. Our Allison knows how to spotlight. Did anybody say? And also to the facilitators out there, ask if there are any questions so far. And ask them if they're all having a good time too, because I'm not getting any feedback.
So I'm gonna spotlight them and they can.
Who's willing?
Lincoln.
Okay. Oh, yay. Hello, Lincoln. Kemmer. Oh, very good. Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Oh, that one turned out really well. Oh, look at the shadows into. Good job, you guys. Are there any questions from you guys? Do you have any questions about what we're doing or?
Cookville wanted to.
Look at how they're smiling, you guys. Everybody should be smiling. Thank you for smiling. All right, yay, Cokeville. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Oh, I like that. Oh, that one turned out really well. That person did really good. Whatever they're called. I like that one too. Thank you. Okay, you guys are doing fine.
Oh, nice.
Very, very good. One more.
Oh, that looks great. Okay, and now Alpine.
Okay, y'all blew Thane away here. All right, there's Alpine. Yay. Okay, you got it. Thank you. Oh, and that's okay. The first one. All right. All right. Oh, you guys are all doing fine. I didn't need to worry. Okay, and then there's the blue one too. Okay. I know how she feels. Okay. One more thing I want to say is that Missy, the director of the Lincoln County Library, was here and she stopped into some of the libraries on her way home last week and asked how it was going. And one library said it was going too fast and one library said it was going too slow. And she determined from that it was going fine, right? What I'd like to say to the people, if it's going too slow, is you have a whole sheet of paper there. If it's going too slow for you, do another painting right down there while you're waiting. Just start another painting. You know, you've got the paper, you may have the time, so just do another one. We did that in the gouache class. Some people were doing 2 paintings and then other people stuck with 1, whatever they're comfortable with. So that's my suggestion to you guys in Cokeville. They're the ones that thought it was going a little slow. Cokeville really rocks. So, all right. So anyway, that's that. And my mask isn't dry yet. So I'm going to pick a little bit of it up. So today, what we're going to be doing with this is we're going to start with our sky. And does everybody see what I did? I mean, not only have I stuck my fingers in it, this is going to be the end of your black cloth. Okay, I'm going to be doing this right like this. Oh my, and then I got it in the sky, you know. Oh, you guys do as I say, not as I do. All right. Look, I've got it everywhere. Is it going up my nose? Oh my gosh. I mean, the mask, it's easier to actually to get off if it's thicker, okay, but it takes longer to dry if it's thicker. So that's a good question. She asked with the mask, is it easier to get off if it's thicker or thinner? It's actually easier to get off if it's thicker, but it takes too long to dry. Also, this is a mask that you can water down and make a little bit thinner, but I wasn't sure if I could trust all of you to not add too much water, in which case it wouldn't work. So we're just going to go with it the way it is. Good question, though. And so it's drying. So the colors we're going to use today that I have everywhere, all over the place. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Is going to be our cerulean blue and our rose color, and then our yellow ochre. And we're going to do pretty much the same thing we did last week, where we're going to, I don't know what I did with last week's painting. This will do. Where we come down on the sky. We're going to go about halfway down this time. So we're going to start with our water, and then our cerulean blue, and then our rose, and then our yellow ochre. And then we're going to paint the grasses in just to speed things up a little bit. And I think I'm dry enough to demonstrate now. I am going to try and move a little bit slower. I also think, and I was talking to the people here, that I'm just going to carry on and go forward if all 10 people here in Thane are done, okay? Because all the other groups are smaller. I don't know why I'm addressing you guys, because you're here. All those Thane people. Okay, so I'm again wetting the paper down with pure water. You don't want to get it too wet. You're really working that water in. And this time I'm just going to go about halfway down with my water like this. Okay. If you get too much water on there, don't be afraid to pick some of it up with a paper towel so it's not overwatered. Okay. So I'm coming down, it's all just got water on it. And then I'm going to come into sorry, I have to adjust so you can see where I am on this. I'm going to come into my cerulean blue, which is that funny color blue. All right. And now when we first did this in the first class, some people went really, really dark with this. And you don't want to go too dark. You want to come in pretty light. You have water on your paper, and the advantage of the water is that we won't get lines in our sky. The disadvantage is that if you come in too light and you have water, then it's going to be too light. Whereas if you come in with just the right amount, you're going to get a nice coverage like this. So back and forth, getting that sky in, the blue sky up at the top. And again, remember that you always want it to be more blue at the top and less blue at the bottom. So going back and forth, I'm going to go about a third of the way down the sky. Page, and then just a teeny tiny amount of that rose, a really small amount. My rose got dirty. Okay, just a small amount. Remember, this is a really bright color, so you need very little. That's actually too much right there. So what I did was add water, and then I'm going to take it up into my sky like that. Okay, and then I'm going to come in with a little bit of that yellow ochre. And I'm going to go right into the red. Again, I did a little bit too dark, so I just added water, and I'm watering it down a little bit and then bringing that yellow up into the red. And then what I want you to do for this harsh line right here is just with clear water, just go across the bottom and shmew it out a little bit. My friend Judy Reedy will be famous for her use of the word shmew, which has become like a really important word here for watercolors. Okay, so that's what you're trying to go for right there. And again, everybody whose painting I saw out there was very successful in not getting too dark. So we're gonna let that dry. When everybody gets this far, I want you to take it over to the dryer and hit it up so that it dries fast so we can get the rest of the painting in there. Can you mute us? Oh, you have to stand up to mute? Well, I'm not letting anybody talk out there. I'm gonna leave that right there. Oh, remember the last time I did that? This actually isn't the one we're doing, but that's good enough. Do you ever sometimes just feel so happy that you want to jump up and down and laugh out loud? You do, Ellen?
I think you.
I do. Me too. Today's one of those days. Probably because it's just so beautiful outside. I mean, oh my gosh. And who doesn't love fall? Fall isn't your favorite? It is my favorite. It used to be fall was my favorite, followed by winter. But now that I'm in my winter years, fall is autumn's my favorite, and then maybe spring, then maybe winter and summer's my least.
I agree. Good choice.
It was, but spring is muddy. I just get too hot.
Too long.
Remember last year in 2023 when all of June was rainy and cold and wet?
So, if we love fall, could we do some fall? Are we going to do some fall? Wyoming wildflowers?
The only Wyoming fall flowers that I found when I went, because I did go out looking at like at Bob's garden, were all the yellow flowers.
Yeah, they are yellow.
Yeah, so,
What about the leaves? Can we do?
well, we advertise this as flowers. Next
Some
week,
leaves like flowers?
next week what we'll do is we'll stick to autumn colored flowers, okay? Reds, orange, which is pretty much what we're doing, but we'll leave the blue. Sorry, Ellen.
You know, every time I go out, I have to pick a couple of leaves.
Well, and you're doing the watercolor class, so the photos, right? So you can always bring fall photos. Okay, is everybody ready for the next step? I've been here chatting along. We've trained him. We didn't even ask him for a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put that fence in there. All right. Oh, there's already been angst here and Thane. You guys are too funny. All right. Bring out your practice piece of paper. Remember that paper that we used in the beginning, or a back side of the piece of paper or half or whatever. Bring out a piece of paper that's not your painting and I will show you how to do the fence. The fence is so easy to do, okay? The fence is basically, can you see? Yeah, burnt umber. Okay, and I'm bringing my burnt umber over into my violet mixing area. Okay, and what you're gonna wanna add to that burnt umber is some of the violet color to make it darker and a little bit more pretty than burnt umber, okay? And then all you're gonna do for the fence posts is you're going to put in a vertical fence post like this, just with, oh, I'm sorry, and we're using the half inch, well, it's called a half inch square, but it just says half inch. We're gonna paint one post like that. Maybe put another post in, another post in over here like that. And then turning it a little, you can either do it the same width or you can turn a little bit to the side and then just do the horizontal one like that. I'm using burnt umber mixed with some violet because you want this to be really dark, okay? Dark, but not thick. Remember, with watercolor, you want that white paper to come through. So you want it to be as dark as you can get it, but not thick, okay? And so then coming over to the other side, it's gonna be the same thing. You're gonna put your post in and then your, is it called a railing? Your railing in. Okay. So everybody practice that. That should be pretty easy to do. I'm sorry? Yes, I put burnt umber and then I added a wee bit of violet to it just to darken it up a little bit and give it a little bit more color. So again, it's just, I should have done it this way. I'm going horizontally, so I'm doing the post, railing, 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 railing. And post with the half inch flat brush. Post and then railing and railing. Okay. So once you feel like you're good with that you know what you're doing. There was laughter out here. Okay, we all know what we're doing. Okay, we're gonna come in with a little bit of burnt umber, add a little bit of violet to it, and then I'm gonna go right in. Now remember, you have that mask down there so you can paint right over it. And I do want you to paint over, like I have these and these right here. I want to make sure that my post goes over that. I'm coming over to the right-hand side. Remember, I always set up my focal point to be in that magical area of the tic-tac-toe board. So, you know, 2 lines coming down, 2 lines going across, and your focal point is right there. So I'm putting my first fence post here. I'm going to come up into my sky and then down into that area, just like that, just about like that, but not all the way down to the bottom. Though if you put it all the way down to the bottom, it's not a mistake. It's just a longer, bigger fence. And then I'm putting in my railings. I mean, here in Wyoming, we all know what a fence looks like, right? And there are all sorts of different kinds of fences out there. But this is what we're doing. And then this is the area where I'm going to have a lot of flowers, and I'm coming over here and I'm doing my post and then another post and then the railings. Again, you're trying to make it really dark as you can. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would want this to be about a 10. And then, but not thick. So we have to remember that you want to get dark colors, but without thick paint. Thick paint is for acrylics and oils, not watercolor. And gouache too, right? Oh, you gouache people. No? Okay. Look at, I have a fence. Yay! Try and make it a little bit darker, Ellen. The reason that you want to get it really dark to begin with is watercolors always dries about 20% lighter. Okay, so if you look at it and you think this is perfect, it's dark enough, remember it's going to dry about 20% lighter. So if you're not dark enough, it's going to dry lighter. And the reason that we want this to be dark is because contrast creates clarity. And with the dark behind the flowers, it's really going to pop out. I think I have a demonstration of it, like right there. See how that really pops out of that dark. Yay! Teaching art is really just cheerleading, in my opinion. Encouraging everybody. I hope that I have not put this wet paint on your new tablecloth. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go by when Thane is ready, we're gonna move on. Not that they're the rock stars. You are like right in my line. No, you're great because you smile a lot. Well, in between the furrowed brow.
This isn't furrowed background, this is concentration.
Okay, that's what I learned in, wasn't it your class, Ellen, where I was concerned about that too with the furrowed brows? And because someone was like really doing this, I said, if that's your concentrating look, it's okay, but I just need to know.
That's my concentration brow.
This is going to tell a Jolene story, but I better not. Had to do with her divot in between her brows. Okay. Tracy's doing good. Karen, how you doing?
Okay.
All right.
Your fence looks good. My fence is a little, not symmetrical. But it's probably they have. Yeah, silver sticks and
Victoria did good. I do feel like I'm romper room. And I see Victoria's home from school today sick. That's dating myself, isn't it?
We all got it. Your perspective, a lot more stuff.
That is a good point, because the smaller, Karen was in here saying that the perspective is different, and the perspective will be different on everybody's, you know, like mine changes. I think this one, I had it going away from me. So yeah, your perspective will change. Which is how wet fences do, right? Fences are a great architectural element to add to landscapes because it gives you a sense of scale. Okay, you guys all ready to move on to our grasses? All right, we're going to move on to our grasses. And again, we have 3 green colors in our palette. And also we have this area in between our fence posts, all right? So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to just paint right over our fence posts with our green, okay? So don't worry about the fence post now, just paint right over it. And if you want to do spattering, you can, but I'm just going to start out by painting my grasses. Okay, I'm starting out once again by using my sap green. Did I put sap green in here? I may not have put sap green in my palette. Hang on. I can tell I didn't put it in because I can't open it. Okay, there we go. Okay, yes, I did not have sap green in there. So let's take some sap green over into our green mixing area like this. Then rinse your brush and go get some lemon yellow and add it to your sap green. What we're just doing is lightening up that sap green a little bit so it's a little bit more yellow, about like that. Now, we have been working with wet paper all along, and now our paper is dry where we're going to paint our grasses. So in this case, because the water is not on the paper, you want to make sure that you have a good water to paint ratio on your brush, all right? Which means that you don't want it to be dry. You want to be able to make grasses free flowing without the brush skittering over the paper if it's too thick. So I'm going to just start out with my first grasses. I'm about to get a drop there. All right, my first grasses just coming up like we have. Remember, I always start at the bottom and I make my big tall grasses at the bottom first. You can see I picked up a little bit of brown there for my fence. I'm not worried about that because there is a lot of brown in grasses, so I'm not worrying too much about that. It was a whole debate about whether or not I was going to have you mask out the fence, but I decided to go with it this way. So you can see how much it works. Okay, so I've done a whole row of light green grasses, all right? Please do switch after you do that. I used my number 10 brush. Switch to your number 4 so we can get smaller grasses in there, okay? And I'm good this time. Does everybody get that row in there?
So you want us to do that row in 10 and then another, and then?
Yeah, everybody do a row with the number 10 and the lighter color, the sap green and the lemon yellow. Do your little grass bronze, all right? And I'm gonna wait till everybody here in Thane is done with that row, and then we'll move on to the next color. So we're doing the first row with the number 10 brush, sap green, lemon yellow. We're gonna do the subsequent grasses with the number 4 brush. I'm not like disturbing the filming or anything like running from the thing. Hey, how come I didn't? I brought my own. I didn't get a box either. I'm so deprived. All right. I want to show you another method for grasses, which I haven't covered. I'm going to cover on this. Okay, is everybody pretty much finished with their first row? Okay, we finished with our first row. I took it from Kim. Okay, another way that you can make grasses, just so you guys know, is you come in with, I'm randomly doing a green color here, so it's not going to be pretty. You come in with your grass like this, just paint your grasses like that. And then you can come in at a certain point and you can scrape out grasses, okay? Can everybody see that, how I'm scraping out the grasses? Okay, so this is another way to do grasses, which I'm gonna reintroduce. So everybody get their palette knife out. And we're gonna do some of this. I don't know how it's gonna work over our masking, but we'll find out. This is a great way to get grasses and just scrape out. It gives you a really nice texture and it gives you a totally different feel than just the paint, not just painting on, but painting.
But it has to be the right. Oh, I did one.
Oh, okay, we had someone randomly do one here. I am gonna, because we are gonna, have you tried it? You need to use the edge. You need to use this part of your palette knife. You need to use a sharp edge, okay? You cannot use like this part. Well, actually, you probably could use that part. I was just watching Victoria do it and she was doing it successfully. Okay, so yes, you can use this part of the palette knife too, right? And just, I can't see. It's like, can anybody see me? All right. So you can see how it's scratching out, right? Okay. I'm going to switch you. I said to go to a number 4. I'm changing my mind. Let's go back to the number 10 and we're going to put some more big fronds in there and we're going to scratch some out. All right. So what I would do is come in with the dark, your green dark, and I'm going to have you add a little bit of your burnt umber to that again, to darken up your green, your dark green to even a darker color. Okay. I'm just adding a teeny tiny bit of burnt umber to it just to darken it up even a little bit more. And again, because we don't have water on the paper, we want to make sure that we have enough water in our brush with our paint. Water to paint ratio is vital to know in watercolors. Okay. And now everybody watch, I'm just going to come in, I'm going to put in some of the darker fronds like this. I might even get a little bit more solid down at the bottom. Now the scraping out part has to come at a certain point of dryness in the paint. So if you try and scrape out when it's too wet, okay, just coming in. My grasses are all going straight up, you know, remember you guys, you can curve them around and do all sorts of things. Then coming in with my palette knife, I'm gonna scrape some of these out. Look how beautiful that is. Can't really see. See how that adds really nice grasses in there? So you're just scraping out, just scrape right across your mask. It's working just fine. This paper really lends itself to this method well. Okay, so here we go. Is everybody finding success with that? Isn't that a fun thing to do? I mean, you can do all sorts of things by scraping out like this. You can put little twig trees in, and you could even scrape out some flower shapes, but for now we're just doing the grass shapes like that. Okay. Now, if you put some color down, let it dry, put some more color on top, and then scrape out, it's going to scrape out to the color that's underneath, right? So everybody remember the scratch boards we used to do as kids, where we would put our crayons and we would do rainbow colors, and then we'd put black India ink over and scratch out. It's kind of the same thing. Does anybody else remember that in art class when we were, you know, like 3? Back when we got to do really fun stuff. All right, so this, I think this worked out really well. How's everybody? Show me, Ellen, hold it up. Let's see. Very good, very good. Oh, beautiful. Okay, everybody here in the class did better than me. Kim, did she give you one of these? Okay, good, because I stole yours. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we have to be cautious when using the palette knife
On the paper? Not at this point, but yes, you are physically scratching the paper. So once you've scratched, Victoria asked if you have to be careful with the paper. At this point, no, but you are scratching the paper. So if I were to paint over the scratched area, it will not be smooth. It's going to show up. I'll show you what I mean by that. So like that. So you can see that it's physically scratched the paper. I don't know if you can see that, but it's physically scratched the paper. So it is changing the paper, but it's part of the process. So you wouldn't want to do it like at the very beginning of the painting. It's the same with erasing on 100% watercolor paper. Generally speaking, you use a kneaded eraser to pick up your pencil marks if you've done some drawing, rather than going back and forth like that with the eraser, which damages the paper. So yes, this does damage the paper, but it also gives you that really nice look. Kim, how did yours turn out? Oh, perfect. Perfect. Okay, I think when everybody gets to this point again, we're going to have lots of time today. Whoops. Sorry, wait a minute. Oh, it rained in my sky, and then I got, well, anyway. It's just a mess. I'm just a mess. Everybody go dry their grasses, and then we'll take the mask off. Where did that even come from? Well, not going to be able to sell that painting now. Everybody should try and be much neater and tidier than I am.
Is it because you're more confined area than you are?
Oh, that's right, Ellen. That's the reason. Not that I'm a bull in the China store. How's Afton doing? Are they keeping up? Afton, you guys all right? Even on my clean white paper, I have stuff now. When I was a kid, I spilled black ink in the middle of my carpet in my bedroom. I moved my bed into the middle of the room and told Mom it was the latest. She killed me when she moved it back. Ellen has given me a challenge to come up with autumn colored flowers now. Yes, when it's dry, thank you, Kim. When it's dry, you can rub your mask off. And remember, if it's not dry, what's going to happen is you're going to drag your color into your white areas. So make sure it's dry. And then just taking your finger again, rubbing it off. See if you rubbed off yet? Have you rubbed off? Okay. Because we had a little trouble getting yours off last week, didn't we? See, now that one's not dry, so I'm not going to be able to get it off. Come back to it. Oh. Again, raining in my sky. I want everybody to see this. See how I've gotten dots? Can you see that in the sky? Right there where it lightens up. This is why you never want to have your water next to your painting. Because every time I clean my brush, I'm splattering all over my own painting. I move things around now a little bit. So I'm just waiting for everybody to finish drying and then taking off their mask. Everybody remove your mask. Okay. Now, I think what we should do is we should do some spattering here. Everybody likes spattering, don't they? Introduce yourself to your neighbor again in case you spatter all over them. All right. And you're going to want to cover up. You're going to want to cover up your. I have even like one dry, clean sheet of paper that I did not put into paint. You're going to want to cover up your sky. I'm covering it up a little bit above my fence like this, so that when I spatter, it can go above the fence a little bit. And I'm going to spatter some flowers in there with my number 4. I think it's a number 4 and a number 10. Now, obviously, the number 10 is going to give you bigger splatters. Okay, so I'm going to start with some red in there. I'm sorry, vermilion red, which is one of my favorite colors in this. I hardly ever use the crimson. Okay, and again, the water to paint ratio, you don't want it too wet. You want it to be about like heavy cream. You want to make sure you have enough on your brush, and then I'm taking my loaded brush and I'm going to start tapping some color into there. Tap, 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 tap.
Straight for million,
Straight vermilion, yes.
the 4 and the 10.
4 and a 10. You know, my hearing's going, so what I thought you said was, it took me a minute, I was like, formidable what? Okay, so I've done some red. I have some white in my palette too. White is just a great color to add, so I'm gonna add a little bit of white and spatter some white in there. And that white is really gonna show up against your fence too. Okay, so I'm gonna quit after doing some white and red, and I'm gonna paint some of the flowers in now. So picking whatever color you want, you know, for the flowers. Again, I'm gonna go with, no, I'm not gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with the rose colored. Rose color, rose. Just pretty, it's a pretty color. And so I'm gonna paint, and I'm gonna put like my biggest flower right there. And remember how last week when we were doing the blue flowers and we left a little bit of white in there? I just am leaving a little bit of white in my flower, and see how that really, when I painted around and left just a little bit of white, how it adds just a little bit of a sparkle. Doesn't have to be such a big, but so try and leave just a little bit of white in your flowers this time, just to add a little bit of sparkle. Because remember, contrast creates clarity. Getting all sorts of water up in my sky. So just start painting some of your flowers in. I'd say paint in about 4 or 5 of your flowers. And then we're gonna spatter some more grasses.
Colors, any color.
Any color. I like vermilion, rose, try your yellow, your gamboge. Is it called gamboge? Or is it yellow deep? Is it gamboge?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So use your gamboge.
Are we supposed to be painting over the white that we sprayed out, the white circles that we sprayed out?
No, the white that was left by your mask.
Right. Is that what we paint the flowers on?
Yes.
Okay.
So you can see that I have one yellow and one red. One rose color. Oh, I want a purple color one too. I was trying to think, don't I have other colors there I can make? Okay. And blue, remember we put blues in there last week too. Now the purple color, I don't have to actually go over my, I don't have to actually paint over the area that was left by the mask. The purple is pretty tenacious and it will show up right next to, well, it will paint right over the green and show up as purple. So there is a purple flower that I painted right next to my yellow flower. Doesn't really read as purple yet, but when it dries, it will. Does anybody want to tell me why I put purple next to yellow? Complementary colors. And so it really pushes the yellow out and makes a nice backdrop for that yellow. So if you're doing the purple color, you don't necessarily have to go over the area that we left white. But if we do go over the area we left white, then try and make it a little bit lighter by adding a little bit more water to your violet color. So it's just playing with the color really at this point. So here is my violet color over the white, and here's my violet color over the green. Okay. Violet will go over green pretty nicely because green has blue in it, as does violet. If I were to put red over it, I'd end up with mud, but purple can hold its own. So just start painting some flowers in, vermilion and rose. And come up into your sky area and maybe put some of the lupin in up there. Almost all my purple flowers are lupin. So remember, the lupin is just where you just kind of dot on either side as you go and it gets further out. Or Indian paintbrush, you can put some Indian paintbrush in there. There's another lupin, right? You can vary your color with the lupin. You can add a little bit of white to your violet. I mean, you all know what color flowers are out there, so you can really play with this. Though I don't know what fall flowers are out there. Leave it to Ellen to throw me off my game. I did actually do a whole YouTube video with fall colored flowers. I think it was Ellen Criminy Trent that did it. Yeah. I mean, once you guys finish this class, you've got the paints to go home with, and there are so many great teachers on YouTube and Skillshare and all that you'll be able to follow so many people and do this. So everybody see where I put a lighter colored lupin next behind a darker one? Do things like that, you know, so add variety. If you have a gamboge colored yellow flower, put a lemon colored flower in the same vicinity and just vary it out a little bit, you know, have fun with it. And I know generally speaking, our flowers are all kind of dots at this point. But you can also see how in the area where we don't have the grasses, you can add more shape to it. For instance, for your Indian paintbrush or your lupin. And then the cone flowers. I mean, cone flowers are pretty easy too. Remember, I did that one. It was kind of a petal flower, cone flower. That's what they're called. Are daisies considered cone flowers? I don't know. I know. And with white paint, you can paint those daisies right over your green and it will show up really nicely. You just, the one exception to my rule about the water to paint ratio is white. White is used thickly like acrylic or oils, okay? So if you're using white to paint white flowers, you have to make that quite thick in order for it to show up over the green. This. Now, where watercolor dries 20% lighter, this white color is actually gouache, which is a tempera paint. So the white is actually a tempera paint and it will dry about 20% darker. Watercolor dries 20% lighter and tempera or gouache dries about 20% darker. So just start filling in your flowers. I'm going to put an Indian paintbrush in. No matter how hard I try, my Indian paintbrush just looks like the devil's fork. You know what I mean? It's like a thing with me in that Indian paintbrush. All right, I'm going to put one right here. So with the Indian paintbrush, again, I do a line like that, and then you're just kind of a curved devil's fork. Is it called a devil's pitchfork? That's what it's called. So your Indian paintbrush is like this. And the Indian paintbrush stalk is actually dark red and green kind of mixed. So add a little bit of green there. That Indian paintbrush. And after you've done a few flowers, you're going to want to cover things back up and add a few more. I'm going to do my number 4 now, and I'm going to spatter some of the green. Because that spattering really added something in our grasses, I thought. And coming back in.
Let's see the Indian paintbrush again.
Yes. Okay, so what I did was, I'll actually paint it like this. I did just a line going down like that, and then start curving like a U around like that. And then you can have another flower down lower on the stem like that. That's a very bad one. I hope you do better. Are there any other flowers that you guys can think of that we need to add in there? What? Mule's ear, the yellow flowers. Yeah, all of those are basically cone flowers. The difference between the mule's ear, the balsam root, and arnica are actually the stems and leaves, and maybe the centers too. So a mule's ear, if you were painting a bunch of mule's ear, it would be you do mule's ears, you're going to have your cone in the middle, and your cone, generally speaking, is going to be your burnt sienna. Here, let me do a mule's ear right here. So I'm taking burnt sienna and adding a little bit of violet to it. So before we were adding a little bit of violet to our burnt umber, and now I'm doing burnt sienna and violet, which is going to make that burnt sienna much prettier than what it is. Okay, so there, I'm going to do a big one. Why am I doing small? Okay, so I'm doing the cone first on the mule's ear, and then I'm coming in with gamboge. I'm coming in with gamboge. And the nice thing about your number 4 brush is it's already petal shape. So if you put the brush down at the top and then press, you can come up with a nice petal shape. So put the brush down and then press to make it wider and then come up like that. You see how that makes a nice petal? So you put the tip down, press down, and then bring it up. And that's what you want to do off of this. So there, press down, and then finish it at the cone. Press down and then bring it up. Press down and bring it up. Also, in all those different flowers, you're going to have different petals and different petal configuration. Sometimes you're just going to have a group of petals going around, and sometimes you're going to have 3 or 4 layers of petals, right?
So
press down. Don't bother me. I'm painting my yellow puddles. What'd you say?
So you're gonna keep going around that?
Yeah, I'm going to keep going around that.
I've never seen a flower with 3 little.
Yeah, no, it's more like, yeah, so we're going to keep going all the way around. And also, of course, not all of our flowers are a portrait of a flower, right? So you're going to have some flowers that, might be going sideways. Unless you're in North Dakota and you're traveling. Is it North Dakota that has all the sunflowers?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when you drive across that strait, isn't it amazing how the sunflowers actually turn towards the sun? Just blows me away. Nature is amazing. Okay, so like this might be, if I'm coming off of here, you might have just some petals that show up a little bit and then get bigger up here. I'm not doing a very good job. So it can be a flower to the side. Up there. Actually, that's a pretty good one. Okay, and you can see here in that mule's ear that what I did was I let some of my brown from the cone seep into the petals, and it gives it a really nice variation. This petal fell off. So again, like if you were gonna put a cone flower in here, you could put a big cone, big cone flower up here in my focal area. This is your area that you want your most, this is my focal point. So I want I was gonna say funnest. I want my more fun flowers, my bigger flowers, my brightest flowers up there. So I'm doing cone flower around there. That's a pretty juvenile flower, but it gives you an idea of what we're going with it, right? And then there's also those cone flowers that where the cone comes, oh, I got the wrong color there, where the cone comes way up. This cone flower, the cone is like this, right? And then your petals are going to droop down like this, right? I don't know. I just call them cone flowers, but I don't know if they have another name. It's a beautiful flower, just like that. Okay. A much taller one. And again, see how I'm letting my burnt sienna seep into the yellow for variation. And Victoria, who's sitting here in front of me, she has a beautiful wildflower garden going in her backyard. And she has these light purple flowers that I think of as echinacea. Okay. And I don't know if it's in the echinacea family, but and so if you want to do a purple like that, you add some white to it. I found that with these colors, I tried to get that beautiful light violet color, and I really struggled with it. It's more like almost like a lavender color, isn't it? Yeah. And what makes, I don't know if yours do, but the echinacea has a really orange center. So that's another petal flower that you can do. So there are some of the flowers that you're going to want to add a little bit of white color to the violet, for instance, and then a little bit of red maybe. Like I struggled with trying to get a lavender color. And I will say that Dan Smith and I think that Winsor Newton are now actually making lavender colors and lilac colors, because there are some colors that are really hard to do in watercolors. You can mix colors a little bit more easily with the oils. Where am I going to put this guy? I'll put it right here. See, now this is the problem I had with that color flower, is that it grays down when I add the white, and it's just not showing up as well as, I mean, her garden was just beautiful, right? I wanted to go dive into the middle of it. And sunflowers, she has sunflowers growing. Okay, is everybody doing all right out there? I almost asked how the other colleges are doing. How are the other libraries doing? Everybody getting their flowers in? Very good. We haven't heard from Alpine at all today. I think that next week when we come in to start our other painting, that what we're going to do is we're going to mask some petal flowers out so we can get some nice petal shapes in there, and maybe mask out some of the lupin as well, and some of the Indian paintbrush. So right now I have you masking in circles only, okay? When you develop your skills a little bit further, then you can come in and start masking out the actual shape of the flower. One of the difficulties with using mask is that you do end up with a hard edge on it, right? And there are a lot of ways to mitigate that And one of them would be to get a little scrubby brush and just soften the edges a little bit. I haven't really talked about how to make edges come and go in a painting yet. We'll probably deal with that in the final painting. But you can see how right here, I just schmewed, again, Judy's word, I schmewed it a little bit so that I didn't have quite that hard edge. So there are great things about the mask and there's some problems with the mask. And the problem for me is that it puts such a hard edge on it that you have to paint within the confines of that hard edge. The good thing is that you're able to put the mask down and then paint freely over it, take the mask off and put down what you want, right? Were you furrowing your were you furrowing your brow at me? These poor people in front of me, they don't dare like even look up at this point, like, oh no, she's gonna pick on me. It's just a wrinkle in the middle of my forehead, I promise. I'm not worried. All right. And then don't forget that after you get some of these flowers painted in there, you're going to want to come in with a little bit of a darker green and give them stems. Just add some stems in there. So I know we painted our grasses in, but look at when I add the stems, what happens. And they look really goofy. But you can add some more grasses in right over your grasses too. You don't have to necessarily stop. So see how I've added the stem here, a stem here. And even though I never painted in that flower, it still looks like a flower, right? A lot of times when you're painting, you're dealing in abstracts, you know, you're not being really stuck in having the structure look like a flower, because from a distance, it's gonna look like a flower. The mine kind of look like yellow and purple blobs at this point. I might add another yellow flower up there. How's everybody doing with the paint to water ratio? Are you getting good color there and feel like you understand that? It's probably one of the most important lessons to learn in watercolor is how to get the paint down, let the white of the paper show through for the luminosity, and not put it on too thick. For me, the biggest lesson is how to paint without schmooing paint all over my everything and sticking my fist in my purple. And it's going okay. Thank you. Who said that? Thanks, Cokeville. I know everybody here has a lot of talent and a lot of creativity. And Cokeville has really rocked it in my other classes too. Okay, so I added a few more there. And of course, you can always add a few more leaves on your flowers too, if you want to have a few leaves up close to your flower. Just like that, bringing out a little bit more detail. So you can see where I've added the stems and then a few more leaves coming off. And it really does add something within the grasses. For the green, I was using the green deep with a little bit of burnt umber in it. The burnt umber is, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this to the burnt umber, but burnt umber is a really pretty gross color. It's not a very pretty color, right? So with burnt umber, and I think that burnt sienna, especially this one, looks kind of like poo, baby poo. So I always add a little bit of violet, little bit of red, a little bit of orange to those colors to just make them a little bit more interesting. Like we did with our fence. I mean, if we had just painted straight up burnt umber, you guys will see what I mean. It's not a very pretty color like that. Actually, that doesn't look bad at all. Okay. I'm sorry I said something bad about the burnt umber. Don't forget, you can spatter a little bit more color up there too. You should be spattering and painting and I'm gonna have to get new paper next week because I totally mucked this up. And stems and going back and forth. Almost everybody who paints in watercolors adds some spattering to it. I fought that for many, many years, but now I become very fond of my spatters. Just adds a little something to it. And I haven't actually, after last week when we did all blue flowers, you don't forget, you can use your, add some of the bachelor buttons in there too, which we did in, who wasn't here last week? Lori. Lori, we did the bachelor buttons. Well, you knew that. You said that right away, ultramarine blue. Do you think the original ultramarine blue was lapis lazuli? Yeah. It really does. And this is a nice ultramarine here too. Not all ultramarines are made the same. Dan Smith makes some really beautiful mineral colors, and their lapis lazuli was beautiful, but it was such an expensive tube of paint that I didn't use it, and then it got hard and I had to throw it away. You know, which is just something that happens. So anyway, I'm putting some blue flowers in here for contrast. And remember how we did the bachelor buttons last year? So you just put the last week, put a little bit of fringe on it. Blue, 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 blue. I end up with so many paintings after these classes for the demos. A really fun thing to do is to give your paintings away. There's a group on social media called Abandoned Art Project. So you just put a little painting in a plastic bag and leave it around the neighborhood with congratulations, today's your lucky day, you get free artwork. I did that at a huge convention in Anaheim, the Natural Foods Expedition. And it was when I was painting chickens and I left chicken paintings all over the place. And I saw people like walking around with the chickens and I'm like, it's chicken, you know? I mean, people were doing it around here with the painted rocks for a while.
Yeah.
Remember, my husband wouldn't let me take any of them. He said, you've got to leave those for the kids. Did your husband say the same thing? Yeah. I was like, well, I like it. So you can do that with artwork. Of course, everybody's going to be framing their paintings for their own homes, right? Wait, there's some pursed lips going on here. Wait, what do you mean?
They make really nice bookmarks. You cut them in strips, punchable, and put some ribbons.
Yes. You're right. Because let's face it, in the beginning, not everybody's doing, well, everybody's doing really nice ones. Tamara did all of hers from the gouache class, put them in frames. It looked really nice.
Yes, I have a collage.
I have so much artwork in my house that when my poor husband goes to the bathroom, he can come out and every painting's been changed.
Did cake decorating.
Pardon me?
I did cake decorating. And so each week we would decorate a cake. I started just doing them all on styrofoam pieces.
I can understand that.
I
Yeah.
was with him, yeah.
I also do subliminal messages right next to where he sits at the counter. Like one was spread joy. Are they subliminal or hidden messages?
Problem with mine, I've got a line.
Where do you have a line?
It stays in my skyline.
Oh, put some flowers over it. Put some grasses over it. And that, remember when we did the sky, someone was saying that they have a hard line going across their sky. Does everybody have that? So what you have to do to avoid that is after you've gotten your sky in is just to take a wet brush and shmoo it out a little bit, fade it out a little bit, right? And then you won't end up with that hard line. It shmooed, okay? Yes, yes. But when, pardon me? Because you can put an airplane and a spaceship in. So what they're saying is when we did the sky part first and then came in with the grasses, that they got a hard line where that yellow ochre ended. And what you need to do for that is you need to, when you have your sky coming down, this piece of paper is ruined anyway, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do this. When you have your sky coming down with your blue, like that, and then your little bit of red in there like that, and then you put your, what's it called? Yellow ochre in like that. So say that's your hard line right there because it's dry down here. You take a wet brush, dry it out a little bit. So I've taken a wet brush, I've gotten rid of the water, which is called making it thirsty. And then I'm just rubbing it back and forth to fade it out so that it fades down nice and gently and doesn't have that hard line. Add a little bit more water, fade it down. Okay. And we'll do that. We'll work on that next week, that fading out. And normally I would have had you go all the way down, do the entire background and then put the grasses on top. But we were running out of time last week with the drawing and everything in between. So I thought that this might, and it did go a little bit faster without that drawing time in between. What did Cokeville say? Do we have time to show anybody's work? Y'all are looking at mine, so I'm not going to show mine.
I wanted to step on the fence. I didn't put mine down.
No, that's great. Oh, well done.
I just got this dry. Look, here's something from Cokeville. Judy. Oh, that is lovely.
Oh, my gosh.
Nice.
Very nice.
It's like a bird at it. Judy, here's another one.
Oh, that's good. You guys did great.
Very nice.
Oh, I love those pointy ones. I always forget about those. Everybody look at that. Wait a minute, put that one back up. We want to do more of that. I forget about those, right? And that really added a lot to it. She had long pointy ones. I have them in here somewhere.
Yeah.
I just forgot
How
about
would you
that.
put stems on our password buttons from last week?
How would you put
Stems on bachelor buttons.
the same way that we did this week? So just by painting the stems on the bachelor buttons. Did I have any without stems?
Here, there's another one. Here, Judy, there's another one.
Oh, that one's great too. Everybody's doing much better flowers than me. Okay. So for the stem with this one, you just come straight down from the bachelor button with the dark green like that. And maybe add a few extra leaves, okay? I hope I didn't screw that up. I'm sure that you did. Was that Cokeville and who else was showing us? Cokeville, you did very, very good. What about, what do we call it? We call it Star Valley? I'm so confused by that. Afton is Afton, but Kemmer is Star Valley.
No,
No?
Kemmer is Lincoln. Afton is Afton or Star Valley.
That's really confusing. Okay. I'm glad we're sane. Okay. So how'd Lincoln do? AKA. I did forget about those, you know, those flowers with the long stem and then the pointy flowers. They added a whole lot to that painting. And I just plain forgot about them. I know they're in here somewhere, but and that added a lot. And also the person who did that had the flowers going, or those, they're really all wildflowers or weeds, but they had them going in different directions, which just added a lot of great energy to that painting. I'm glad we got to see other people's paintings because they all did much better than me. Okay. All right. So we're pretty much out of time. Next week, we're going to be doing this oh, here's where I did it. See, I did do it. Okay. I knew I had done that someplace. So next week, what we're going to be doing is we're going to put the fence a little bit more in the background, add a forest scene to it, and then the sky. And then the following week, because our final project is going to be a full sheet, the next week, what we're going to do is we're going to move to a little bit of a bigger sheet, okay, which is going to be a square like this, because it does take more to do a bigger piece of paper, right? We've been working pretty small. We're going to work small again next week, but the following week we're going to be going bigger. And then the last project is going to be a 2-session project where we put our whole background down first, and then come in on the final day and put in our flowers. We'll do some flowers on the first day too, but that will be our culminating project. And I don't know, I mean, at this point, when we get to this size, I may have everybody choose what flower they want to do, whether you want to do poppies or Indian paintbrush or a variety of flowers. But here we're getting much bigger, and you can see where you can get a lot more detail into the flowers themselves. All right, so there we go. Everybody did really well. Thank you. Are we signed out yet?